That's my shit, my shit, my shit. That's my shit. That's my shit, my shit, my shit. That's my shit. That's my shit, my shit, my shit. That's my shit. Shit.
Who like dope beats, fly rhymes, and waxing the philosophical? Cause we don't like the small talk, gossip, and what's topical. If it's a product of your heart and soul, then it's optimal. Pull up and have a seat, we about to do the impossible. I'll put you on the game if you working new to the set. Underground lurking and ain't nobody heard of you yet. Whether first time hustling, service, or crazy vet, lay it on the table the way we earning major respect. Now we paying tribute, so just relax and laugh a bit. Sit back and maybe you learn something after it. Try not to be offended, pretending to have a fit. The truth is, I just like what I like. That's my shit.
That's my shit, my shit, my shit. That's my shit. That's my shit, my shit, my shit. That's my shit. That's my shit, my shit, my shit. That's my shit. Shit. This right here, that's my shit.
Just
Why?
dealing with technical difficulties. I did a full system reset and assumed everything would run smoothly. But it's been a mad dash for the last hour to get my audio corrected, but I think we're good. So,
You sound fantastic.
well, it's great to see you. Thank you so much for joining me. I really appreciate it. And I guess I wanted to ask you some questions. And first, when did the music bug bite you? When did you decide you were going to make music and that was going to be your path?
I guess when I was real young kid, and there wasn't much to do except sing and write, and I just became obsessed with it, and it never stopped. It just was one thing that remained constant throughout my life. So, um, I don't know if there was. I mean, of course, as a kid, you dream of making it big and being adored by thousands of millions of people. But as the older I got, the less that became a thing I was striving for or expected. Right through college, I was like, I if I was going to be discovered, I had been discovered already. So, I was just doing it for the passion of it and to prove myself to others, and just the battle game, the competition of it, and also it kind of probably kept me sane. It really was my outlet for a lot of feelings that most people don't communicate, and they just keep it to themselves, and it manifests in awful ways if you don't have a good outlet for it. So, yeah, that's really, I mean, the most truthful answer I can give, because that's how it all played out.
Was hip hop the first genre of music that you fell in love with, or was there the stuff your parents listened to? Did they influence your tastes?
No, I can say no, no. My parents had zero influence on my love for hip hop. Hip hop really was my first music love. Um, Again, I became completely obsessed with it, obsessive compulsive, and there was not a whole lot out there for me to get. I really had to scrap for. I mean, there was no hip hop section in the tape stores, so we were buying tapes. And I would just maybe stumble upon the Too Short album. I see, the black dude with a Dookie Gold chain, and I'm like, this is probably hip hop. Or it said MC John Doe, R.I.P. I was like, yeah, I'm gonna get this. So, that's how I found a lot of hip hop early on, with no one to guide me. It was just guesswork. Radio stations were good. Boston had a college radio station called WERS 88.9, and every Saturday night they had a show called the Hip Hop Explosion. I think that's what it was called. It was just 1 hour from midnight till 1 a.m. I was too young to even stay up that late, but I snuck. I had a little tape recorder, or maybe a tiny boom box that I could hit record on right when midnight hit, and then hopefully the antenna was set correctly because I live about 45 minutes from Boston. But yeah, that's how I got the like grimy hip hop stuff. Everything else was Fat Boys, Run DMC, DJ Jazzy Jeff and the Fresh Prince, JJ Fad. And thankfully, what a big explosion of material came through Yo MTV Raps when that became a thing. So that I would say that doesn't get the credit it deserves throughout the world for popularizing hip hop and making people aware of the culture of hip hop and the people who were making good hip hop. Um, because it was that's how it got to all the suburbs and rural areas and Finland and
Yeah.
everywhere. Yeah.
Did you well, let me go back. Those recordings on personal journals, that's you as a kid, right?
Right. So I always recorded myself over if I can I didn't make beats, but I would find the part of a song where no one was rapping on it, and I'd be able to repeat that part of the song so that I could rap over a lengthy instrumental. So yeah, I would write a lot, I would record a lot, and I saved a lot of those recordings, and I like to sprinkle them. I did sprinkle them throughout my albums and mixtapes, um, sort of as just as a major salute to my younger self. And it's something I've like it felt like it was always supposed to be that way. It's like this thread of time that I'm stitching, and most people probably don't even realize it's me when they hear the voice. It's obviously way different sounding than how I am now, and it's an old school rap style usually. So it's just kind of like a very nice throwback, and a big hug to the little me.
For sure. Did you do the take the vinyl and then find the break you wanted and then play the loop and then record it on the cassette and then pause, record to get that break? How would you loop
No, that was too sophisticated for me at the time. It would really just be like a Rakim song would end with just the beat. So I would use a dual cassette deck to play the beat on one of the tape heads and then record it on the other, pause the recording, bring back the beat, play it again, release the pause button at exactly the right time so that it would be a continuous beat on beat. That's how I did it.
Yes.
They call them pause mixtapes. Yeah.
Okay. Well, it's the same concept as the vinyl,
Totally. Yeah,
right?
yeah. But I really had no idea how people were getting break beats. I didn't figure that out until college. And even then I still was, I was lucky enough to fall into the company of um record diggers who like really knew which records to find and what labels to look out for. And but by that time I had given up on trying any kind of production. I just was rapping full time.
Right on, right on. And so you did you dive into the battle rap stuff pretty early in your career, or
Yeah,
was there a battle rap scene? And it's Providence is where you're from, right?
right. Yeah, there was. Before battles, there were talent shows. That's what it basically was. So at block parties or nightclubs, they'd have talent shows, and that's when people would step to the mic, try to win a prize, but with their raps. Um,
Really?
Battles started popping off more frequently in the mid 90s where I lived. And by the late 90s, we like were full on at it with like battle nights. And yeah, I would say that's where I honed the battle craft and worked out a lot of the nerves that would be necessary for other moments in my career. And eventually winning the Super Bowl battle in Boston in 1999, which is not really a big deal now, but in New England back then, it was the big battle that, if you won that, you were the shit. You were the shit. And the Boston MCs didn't really respect me. They knew I had a radio show. They knew I talked a lot of trash on my show, and they knew I was a spoken word artist. And that's kind of how they lumped me as like the weird Rhode Island kid who has this radio show and does spoken word. I guess they weren't familiar with the rap stuff because I wasn't signed and I didn't, Boston had different labels that they were messing with different MCs. I never was given a shot. So yeah, winning that battle was a big deal for me in the local scene, and then to follow that up with the win the next year at Scribble Jam in Cincinnati, kind of solidified, my, I guess, battle prowess. But those 2 years in particular were, I mean, maybe 98, 99, and 2000 is when I was most battle heavy. And since then, I totally abandoned it completely, in favor of making albums and building a career and touring. And battling was not really something I cared to pigeonhole myself with.
And so you said you were at you won Scribble Jam 2000?
Yeah, so 2000 was the first year I went to Scribble Jam. I won that year. Um, and as under the moniker Zalzan, which was a heavy metal alter ego. And it was just being a white rapper back then. Whenever you were in battles, you would often be ridiculed for like skateboarding or liking heavy metal, and I embodied that in the battle, so that it was just too obvious of a comment for my opponent to make, so it would make them have to dig a bit deeper as to what they were going to comment on regarding my appearance. It really threw a lot of MCs off. It was funny. It was fun to do.
Oh, yeah, in the old Scribble Jam footage, you're in a Metallica shirt, bro, and that I saw that when I was a kid. I was like, that's fucking punk, dude. That's who does that? Nobody
No,
does that.
yeah, and it was all, I mean, it was all authentic gear, but it wasn't mine. I lived with like real heavy metal dudes. I like I was able to just take their shirts and their jean jacket with all the patches on it and come across as looking like, I didn't listen to metal though. I was not a metal kid. I hated rock and roll. I only exclusively listened to hip hop. So yes, it was a major annoyance whenever someone would try to peg me as this like weekend warrior who just dabbles in hip hop, when it was my whole identity, from childhood through young adulthood.
That's actually kind of surprising to me because I assumed you were a metal fan or a punk rock fan and you were into, lots of different stuff. Uh,
Eventually I did come around. I mean, man, being around so many hardcore kids and metal kids, they kind of forced me to go to the shows. And I'd say in 96 there was a breakthrough for me. I mean, I went through a major breakup with my first love, and I was on a mission to change everything about myself and what I thought was important to me and who I thought I was, what my identity was. So at that point I wasn't scared to like experience other music genres or be a participant in those. So yeah, I was going to hardcore shows, loving it. I love the hardcore shows. I love the energy of a hardcore show. I love the DIY aspect of hardcore culture, how they were making their own zines, putting out their own records. And that was um, a big part of what inspired me to release my own music. So that directly inspired me to put out my own tape in 90, or actually the first one was in 96. So I would rap on the stage at the hardcore shows because my friends were in the bands and they let me do a song with them. And then I would be pushing my demo tape. And eventually, several years later, I did, release a couple 12 inches under the name Nonprofits. But I still didn't have an album out or an official tape, even though I had recorded in a studio with a band and we had a full album, but it wasn't really great. It was just, and I wanted beats. I didn't want to work with live instruments. Again, that was something I just wasn't able to shake for a long time. I really wanted dirty, dusty, gritty ass boom bap beats. But what I had available to me was amazing. I had like a upright bass. I had a guy on trumpet, girl on keys, drummer was amazing. And so I had these instrumentalists available to me, and we're playing shows that are live, and the crowds are loving it. Like we had a great college crowd, but in my heart of hearts, I knew that wasn't my strength and that's not what I wanted. Um, so I just kept pushing. Eventually ended up working with some great producers and doing the kind of hip hop I loved. And then, 10 years down the line, here I am again. I don't know, you can see I got the new Life hoodies, but I did the Life album all with live instruments again. There was not a single sample on there outside of my vocal samples. Um, so yeah, I think I went through some identity crises in the late 90s, early 2000s until I finally settled into what I've gotten. Very happy to work with any kind of music that comes my way if it hits me the right way.
Nice. And so the nonprofits was that a moniker of yours? That wasn't the name of the band as a whole.
No, well, the band is called AOI, which was Artificial
That's
Intelligence.
right. Yeah.
And then De La Soul ended up using that title for a string of albums, which was odd. Um, but Nonprofits was supposed to be a much bigger group because I had a lot of Rhode Island MCs that I work with that who were incredible, really good. Um, and I'm like, all right, let's do like the producer was Joe Beats. He's a guy I met in college who was learning how to make beats in the college radio station. Like I said, we knew people who came through and showed him how to match up beat breaks with different things, and that yeah, he spent a lot of time building these beats in the years that we had our college radio shows. So it was me. We worked with a crew called Clockworks. Those were my friends from Woonsocket. This kid Vocab. So Vocab was on our first 12-inch. But whatever the case, as many MCs as I worked with, none of them were reliable. They were very hard to count on, and I was the only one who was constantly on top of this stuff. So it had ended up just being me and Joe Beats, and I wanted DJ Perseus to also be the third member, but he ended up, he again tough to stay in touch with. And the guy who did the cuts on our actual album, which was called Hope, his name was DJ Mech. Again, like another Rhode Island dude who's just stellar, incredible at what he does. But for some reason, after that album, we just never worked together again. And then I never worked with Joe Beats again. All of that fell apart. But the nonprofits era was like right on the tail end of what indie hip hop was doing with 12-inch releases in the late 90s. So we got, it was distributed through Fat Beats Records, and Mig Red Zeppi was our quote unquote manager or label head, but he was my main dude at the radio station, 90.3 WRIU. And I lost contact with him. Like I felt like he felt like we left him behind when we just started working with our other labels. And but he in retrospect, and I hope he understands this, he was just too slow. There was too much was happening at once for us to wait for someone else if they're dragging their feet. I'm like, man, we have a very limited window of time to make things pop off. And I'm grabbing it. I'm jumping at it. And I did. I mean, I don't care who was with me or who I was working with. I was going to get it done. And I did. That's how I did it.
It's tough to find people that are dedicated like that,
Yeah,
And
dedicated, reliable, and talented. That trio, or it's not common that you get all those things to work together at once.
it's like the pyramid of talent at the very bottom, you've got rappers, and then the next tier is rappers who write their own songs. Next tier up, rappers who write their own songs, make their own beats. Then the top of the pyramid is rappers who write good bars, make their own beats, and they have good business sense. Like all of those things have to come together for someone to be successful. I mean, in whatever it is you do.
Yeah, well,
Uh,
because you also have to be a good live performer. So being able to write and record is its own thing. Being able to control a crowd and rock a crowd can be a whole other thing. And sometimes there's no crossover or
mhm.
layover. It's really yeah, I know kids who were incredible live, like they killed a crowd. But when it came to sit down and write a song or have an ear for recordings and for beats, they didn't have it. It just was not part of their repertoire. So a lot of things have to fall into place for you to take advantage of any opportunity that may come your way and to get your name heard, or to build relationships in the industry.
I, I just wanted to mention that we met a few days ago at your merch table. You run your own merch table, and I think that's punk as fuck. Um, mad respect for manning the whole shit. At least from my perspective, it seems like you are fully in charge of just about every aspect of your career.
Yeah, I
Uh,
am.
did
Well, here's the thing. I don't understand why it's not done by more people. Um, I'm here. This is my job. I'm trying to make money. I'm trying to promote. I'm trying to get people into our stuff. I sell way more merch if I'm the one selling it at the merch table. Like some people take that as time to chill, party, relax, whatever. I'm already high strung at a show. I'm already in a social environment where my nerves are like tingling. I'd rather have a purpose. I'd rather be at that merch table, take the pictures with people. I'm not really there for small talk. I That's my least favorite part of being available or being in a social environment. I'm not there to discuss things. I mostly would love to save my voice for the stage. But yeah, I mean, man, so many artists, they don't have to be at my tier. You could be several tiers below me, but if you put on a dope live show and you don't immediately go to your merch booth afterward to capitalize on just the excitement that you brought about in your performance, you're really missing out on several levels. You're fucking yourself. You're losing fans potentially by doing that. You're losing out on revenue. And Lord knows, like we have so few revenue streams these days. The way you can make money for sure, the best way is to do live shows and sell merch at your live shows. So I don't take that lightly at all. I never did, but if I'm doing a national tour or when I used to do more of those, that's when it made sense for me to have a merch person. But I cut out many middlemen in order to save money and make as much money as I could. So I'm booking the hotels, I'm driving the van. Yeah, like I'm doing a lot of the stuff that most artists just don't have the wherewithal to mess with. But I'm lucky for it, and I benefited from that in the long run. It was pretty important. If I did that, I don't know where I'd be right now.
mad respect just for being in charge and knowing what you want and grabbing it by the horns. It's admirable. And again, punk as fuck.
Hey,
And
it is punk, and I thank uh, the punk scene for kind of showing me the way. Because that happened when I never was assured any kind of career. I never was assured a fan base. So starting with nothing for a long time, having nothing, and just doing everything possible to get heard and hope people see value in what I do or can identify with the kind of messages I bring in my music. It just happened for so long, no one gave a shit, and I was shitted on. So I never could take for granted the kind of fan base that I have now or the listenership that I have now. Um, I'm very, very grateful for all of it. And I work to keep it. And I can't keep it forever. I mean, I'm not going to live forever, but I gotta, I still have a window of time left to do stuff that I think will impress people as well as myself and hopefully stay on top of this business so that the company that I built, which is Strange Famous Records, stays relevant and can continue to help other people release music that we believe in.
so dope. I think more people should do it that way. And I feel like overall you make a bigger cut of the money when you cut less people out. There's less middleman to take a slice of the cheese.
Yeah, it's just a drain on you, So there's a give and take there. That's it can take its toll on you. You can feel overwhelmed. You can feel like I'd rather just be chilling right now and getting a good rest, but I'd also like a bigger check when I take it home to the family. So
For sure.
yeah. And I haven't toured heavy like that um since I got married. But next year I am going to do another one of those big national tours, which will be announced on Monday. The whole tour will be announced. It's going to be me with Atmosphere and Mr. Dibbs.
Sick, sick,
Yeah,
sick.
crazy. The
So
last time we toured together was 25 years ago.
holy shit.
Yeah, that's how long it's been. That's how quick time goes, man.
Yeah, man. I mean, Christ, I found out about you uh, sometime shortly after Personal Journals dropped, and just thinking about where I was at that time and where I am now, it's fucking mind blowing how quickly time flies and
Yeah.
where we think we would end up versus where we do end up, all that good shit. But something else I wanted to ask was A Healthy Distrust was released on Epitaph Records.
Right.
Yeah, how did that come about? Did they reach out to you?
Yeah, they did. And if funny, I I haven't spoken to Epitaph Records in a long time, and last night they hit me up because next year is the 20th anniversary of A Healthy Distrust. So the way, and we want to do a repress for the vinyl because the vinyl's been out of print for a long time. Fans are always asking me about it. I'm like, it's not up to me. I didn't release that album. Epitaph owns the album. So it looks like they are going to do something, which I'm very excited about. But yeah, they reached out to me because in the early 2000s, I think the independent hip hop scene, with the help of file sharing companies like Napster and LimeWire and Kazaa, um, we were huge. All the underground hip hop started blowing up because we weren't under the restraints of conglomerate music corporations that controlled the radio, that controlled magazines, that controlled news sources. So the internet helped us acquire a fan base that became larger than most of us even knew what to do or how to access with merch and with albums. So Epitaph saw a great parallel between what we were doing and what like Southern California punk rock was doing in the early 80s.
Yeah, there's a lot of parallels.
Yeah, so he was like, "Man, I've already like the president. His name's Andy Culkin. He says this just reminds me of the same spirit that we experienced back then, and then we created this company. So like, they're they're an independent label, but they operate on a major labels level. Huge staff, and like crazy amounts of money getting thrown around everywhere. A lot of labels were reaching out to, and specifically white rappers because Eminem had gotten so huge so fast that
Hmm.
all the labels were like, "We want the next Eminem, we want the next Eminem, or we want to prevent the next Eminem." So they just locked up a ton of white MCs with deals that shelved their albums and stunted their careers. That happened
Wow.
to a ton of rappers. They reached out to me, several labels did, and none of them passed the sniff test. I was like, nah, like I already know what I'm doing is like really
It's
it's
working.
doing well. It's doing really well. Like my first album came out on Anticon, which was an independent hip hop label. And so Personal Journals was the best selling album that they ever put out. And we had major distribution, physical distribution in the States, in Europe, worldwide. I was touring the world. And I'm like, I don't really need any, no one's going to tell me like, we're going to make you like bigger or whatever. Like, I know the trajectory I was on. But Epitaph came at me very honestly and almost was like, not almost, they literally said, you know what you're doing. You don't have to change anything. Let us help you put out albums. We can get more records out there to more people. We can actually introduce you to more like people through Punkorama. So that if they put my song Makeshift Patriot on Punkorama, and people who don't know, Punkorama CDs were very cheap, but they were loaded with songs.
Oh yeah.
Loaded. I had all the Punkorama CDs before they ever approached me. So I was like very excited about that. And to this day, people tell me they discovered me through the Punkorama CD. To this day, they're like, "Yo, when that was the first hip hop I ever really gave a listen to and thought, wow, you can do cool shit with hip hop. It's not all about, bitches and hoes, whatever their understanding of hip hop was. It was much greater. They realized it was much greater than that. Um, so
That's
yeah,
gotta
that's how that worked out. And they, tied me up in, I wouldn't say tied, I will say it, tied me up into a 3 album deal. And I think after Healthy Distrust came out, they signed a lot of other hip hop groups, but the honeymoon period with hip hop that Epitaph was having ended, and they didn't really care to continue the marriage in a healthy and fruitful way. So I was left to a lot of my own devices moving forward. For the next two albums, I handled pretty much everything on my own. Um, and I was almost like, why am I going through Epitaph? Like, I'm not really getting the promotion that I enjoyed with the first release, and yeah,
Was
well,
that
things worked out the way they did. I love all the albums. I love my experience with Epitaph. I just wish I didn't feel so abandoned after a while when the record goes out of print and I'm like, come on, guys, like, let's go.
did they try to put you on any tours with any Epitaph artists, like punk or
Um,
non-hip hop?
I was already touring so heavy. There was I toured, yeah. I'm not sure who if this came through the label or through my booking company, but I toured with Against Me, um, in the States, and I toured with Rise Against, which was I don't know what kind of is rock group. I mean, what is that?
I know who both of them are, but I actually don't listen to either of
All right,
them. I probably should.
Against Me started off more as a folk punk artist and grew into more like it's on the radio and more poppy sounding. But Rise Against was more heavy, and we toured Canada together, and they were doing stadiums. Um,
Wow.
yeah, so I'm like one rap guy on stage all by himself in a stadium of people who want hard rock or metal in Canada. It was a very awkward experience. I made it work, but I wouldn't do that again.
Were those the biggest shows you'd ever played at that point?
Um, Probably, but I mean, I was playing in front of. I mean, I played Coachella a couple times, so the audience was 10,000 or more. Um, yeah, I don't know. I mean, I guess those were. Oh, I can't even remember that tour. I remember one part of the tour. I remember that people were just in a line for merch the whole night. Not my merch, their merch. Because I'm working my own merch booth, but like people would miss their show just to get their shirt. So they'd be waiting in line and I hear them playing on stage and people don't care. They just are there to get the merch. So these motherfuckers banked on merch real hard.
I I noticed. Are you familiar with Death Grips?
Is that noise rap?
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
I went and saw them. They were touring with Ministry a few years ago, and the merch line for Death Grips it went across like halfway across the fucking venue. It was unreal.
Yeah.
And that's all I really have to say about it. It felt fucking ridiculous. Uh,
When you have merch like that, you have to have a merch team.
right?
So
Multiple
I would
multiple
do that.
people.
If I was banking on merch in that kind of way, I don't know when to prepare for that or when to expect that. So I probably would miss out on it. But um if you're selling merch like that, you're doing really, really good financially. I would guess as the artist, unless you're tied up in a really crazy 360 deal with the label. But I can't see any artist on that level who a year later will cry about not having enough money to do something or they need this or that. Like, no way. I still have cash from merch I sold in 2000. Like I kept a stash. I was like, I don't know. It would be wise to invest this or it'd be wise to put it in a bank with some interest. But also, I like to know it's really there and I can always grab it when I need it
I mean, you're a smart man. Got to look ahead to the
until we
future.
become a completely cashless society.
Yeah, I could talk about that for hours, so we won't go into that, but at least I hope that doesn't fucking happen.
Yeah,
I see
it's
it.
moving that way.
They're trying to for sure, but
It was like that in the UK when I went last. It was like that in Finland when I went there last. Literally, like no cash anywhere.
wow.
Yeah, like
Yeah,
people thought using cash was weird.
that's weird and it's scary to me that it once it gets to that point, uh, we no longer have control over our assets and what we own, and Uh, any
Hey,
little,
you're gonna own nothing and like it.
yeah, that's what they say. So, oh, I wanted to ask you about someone. Whatever happened to the short-necked giraffe?
He's still living in Chicago.
Is he still making music?
Not that I am aware of.
Okay. I actually there was an Eminem thing that I heard, and he had a bar, and it was like it was very similar to if we had a circle jerk, you couldn't come to grips with me. And I remember Short Neck Giraffe saying that on, I think it was one of your mixtapes or a live
Yeah,
recording. I
yeah.
fucking always loved that bar. And then I heard Eminem basically do it. Then I had to Google Short Neck Giraffe to show my friends that Eminem basically purged this bar, and I couldn't find him. I could find nothing.
Yeah. Well, that he was part of the Chicago battle scene or battle rap. So it was always punchlines, it's like Juice was a big inspiration. Juice, who beat Eminem in the Scribble Jam,
Of course.
um, before I got there. But yeah, so there was a lot of heavy battle cats in Chicago. I spent a lot of time in Chicago back then. So Short Neck Giraffe was an underage kid who couldn't get into the club, and the only way I could get him in is if I said he was a performer. So I brought him up on stage. That's how that recording came about.
Okay. Okay. So, stupid personal question, but are you still a vegetarian?
No, I'm not. And I wavered for a while. I've never loved meat. I'm not big on meat. But I did go hardcore vegetarian for quite some time. And it was good. Like I was fine with it. I never was like craving meat. My grandmother's been vegetarian her whole life, and she's about to be 90, or she is 90 now. I mean, it's she's healthy, or not, for a 90-year-old, Uh, so so it's like that's a good and should be a good enough inspiration for me to stick with that. But also for all the traveling that I was doing and all the different cultures I was experiencing. And I stopped really wanting to let that affect what I was going to experience everywhere I went and what I did. And now living with, my wife and three kids, she takes care of cooking. She cooks incredible stuff. I'll literally eat whatever she cooks. Um, but the one thing that broke me when I really just stopped like being militant about it is I got severely sick in Canada, to the point where I think it was food poisoning, and I had to catch a flight home, but I had been throwing up, and not just throw up, like diarrhea and throw up at the same time,
Ooh.
and like on and on over and over, to the point where then it was dry heaving, then it was throwing up bile, um, being like sweating my ass off, hardly being able to stand, and I have to make my flight. I have no money, and I got my ticket home. I'm like, I just got to get home. I probably should have been in the hospital. Honestly, like I've pushed my limits there. But I couldn't eat anything without throwing it up. So I could not eat anything. And then I'm traveling with a plastic bag to sneak in the vomit whenever it would come up.
Trying to drink water
Through
just to have something to throw back up.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
I've been
So
there.
through to the airport, getting through, and then on the plane, when I was flying home, and finally I started to settle down, or if it didn't feel as violent, they were serving food, and it was like meat. No, it was pasta with meat sauce, and that's all they had. I was like, whoa! I was like, oh shit! Do you have anything else? Like, do you have a vegetarian option? And they're like, no. And I was like, all right, this is it. I'm gonna break my veg edge right now. And it was the most delicious fucking meal I'd ever eaten up to that point. Like I was so famished, and I was like, I don't care. This is to live right now. I'm gonna live, and this is what I'm gonna eat. So that was the exact moment where I just stopped being full on vegetarian. But I do prefer vegetarian options when they're available.
Did you ever try to go full vegan at any point?
Well, not sincerely, but since I traveled with vegans, I toured with a group called Soliloquists of Sound. They were all vegan, so they took on the duties of all the hard work of finding the food to eat and preparing it. So I lived on the vegan diet with them for a full month, and I gotta say, I felt great. I felt an extra burst of energy about me. There was like I did feel lighter and more of a glow. So, as much as people turn their nose up at the vegan diet and think it's just a snotty, whatever, I I commend people who can stick to it and are dedicated enough and disciplined enough because it really did. I did feel an actual change in me. I felt better overall.
Well, it's
That
also
takes a
the
lot of effort, man.
oh, for sure. Yeah, I was vegetarian for about a year, and then I went vegan for maybe a year and a half, 2 years after that, and I never got sick.
Mm.
I didn't get heartburn. Uh, just overall, I lost weight, felt great. Probably at that point was the best shape of my life.
Yeah.
But yeah, I was curious. I've always been curious about that because your line, no chicken, not even fish.
I
But
deeply regret that line because
because
I
people
have to
bring it
live.
up like this.
Yeah, I deeply regret that. It was literally a throwaway line on a song because I was setting up the next line, which was I'm a real underground rapper. My tape quality sucks. My records skip, or my CDs are warped and my records skip. I remember, yeah, I wrote it basically as a freestyle. I wrote that all on the spot and recorded it. And yeah, I was vegetarian at the time, and now I have to like I'll never say anything personal like that in a song again. Not personal, but like revealing about this is what I am and this is me forever, you know.
Right. Because, yeah, that media is powerful and people absorb it. Like, and we take what we hear and see seriously, I think. Music is powerful. So, yeah, that's something I was always wondering about. And another thing rumors through friends and what have you is that are you 100% straight edge? You no pot
Not
with
that
any.
either. No, I mean I don't claim anything like that.
Well, not
I did. That was the hardcore days where I did become familiar with the straight edge culture, and I was vehemently against any drugs, smoking of any kind. Like I was militant. That I was way more militant about that than I was being a vegetarian. Um, and I felt like I had found my tribe because like I was the only kid I knew who didn't smoke or drink. And I had no interest in it and didn't fuck. Like I was like straight edge. I, which is weird. Like that's just to me looking back, that's a weird mentality to have when you're coming up, you're a young adult, and you're just me. I can honestly say I was affected by um a, the culture of drinking and drugs. Growing up amongst it, being affected by it, and hating it. I needed therapy. I didn't need the straight edge music scene. I needed therapy. But what have you? Later down the line, I'm not like that anymore. I don't endorse drinking you know what? I'm sorry to anyone who may have shamed in the past about it, because that's not the way. And I mean, a lot of people. I'm almost 50 now. Like I've seen people ruin their lives with everything, not just drugs and drinking. You can ruin your life with music. You can ruin your life with your relationship. This just don't be scared like to try new things, and as long as you're not actively trying to kill yourself.
right.
That's pretty much my stance on it right now.
Yeah, I'm on day 3 with no weed or THC, so I haven't committed road rage yet.
Yeah, how does
But
it affect you?
actually, it's not been that bad. I've been a weed smoker most of my life, which something, hearing through the grapevine that you were straight edge or whatever you want to call it, it always baffled me as a teen when artists could make such good music, and then I found out they weren't doing drugs recreationally. And
Right.
when you're a kid and you discover weed, you assume, or you find out all your favorite musicians are potheads, and you're like, oh,
It, wa-
I relate to that. But
it was the opposite for me. Another reason I was scared of drugs, like I was just scared. Uh, when the talented crew I was working with got involved with weed or drinking, that's when they fell off. That's when they stopped being creative. That's when they stopped being reliable and like proving like their talent. Like they just had a whole other escape route.
Mhm.
So music remained my escape, and I never wanted any drinking or drugs to get involved in my creative process, because that was literally what people, I think a lot of people drank for is why I wrote. Like that was my, um,
Your release.
yeah, that was my release. That was my escape.
Yeah, that's I mean, few people can figure that out. Everybody needs an outlet of some sort, artistic in whatever medium. I think people don't realize how badly we all need that, and a lot of people don't get it.
No.
So,
Well, now they get it online or they just troll and talk mad shit or say awful things under, a username. And that's a weird outlet and that's not very healthy for you, but that's what people are doing.
yeah, there's a lot of that too. But to each his own, I suppose.
Sure.
Um, so you said your tour you're announcing on Monday,
Yeah, the
and that's
dates. So I don't know when this is going to be released, but it probably everything will be out in public by the time this podcast gets released. So people can go to atmospheresucks.com for you need a code that they're going to give us in order to get the pre-sale tickets. And this tour is like 3 months away. It's going to sell. They're not huge arenas. Like we're playing like mid-sized venues in a lot of B and C markets. So we're not playing LA. We're not playing New York City. We're playing Missouri. We're playing, I don't know, fucking Nevada. So these places are definitely going to sell out. Um, yeah, and good luck getting the tickets. I mean, I would be wise to get a merch person because I'm driving myself on this tour. I'm getting my own hotel rooms on this tour, and I'm doing my merch on this tour, and I'm doing a 45-minute set every night. So I'm going to be totally exhausted and pushing my limits as an old white guy. Uh, so maybe I'll reach out to people in each city and say, "Hey, do you want a percentage of the sales if you work my merch booth tonight?" But who can I trust like that and from city to city? And expect them to do a good job. I don't know. These are the things that I'm turning around in my head right now. But I'm
that,
preparing to do everything on my own.
that's
So I'll see you at the merch booth.
hell yeah. It seems like a lot to take on. Like you said, when we spoke a week or so ago, you're a one-man army, and it was on full display last week when I saw you. Merch table, and then you walked up to the stage with a laptop, and then hit play on your backing tracks and let it rip.
Yep.
And I fucking love that. Like that's punk as fuck to me,
Yeah.
and mad respect for that. Now, uh, is Dibbs going to be doing his own set on this tour, or is
Yeah,
he?
he is. So he'll be doing a full Mr. Dibbs set. We're discussing whether that's going to leak into mine or, like rather than having a break between the two of us, just transition smooth from him to me. So I guess be prepared for that if that ends up happening. But yeah, so he'll go first, then I'll go, and then Atmosphere closes the night. And we're let's just hope all of us make it out of this thing okay and happy and healthy.
Does Ant tour with Slug?
Oh yeah, yeah, he's gonna tour too. So
Okay.
he'll DJ. He also he has like two other people. Oh man, Slug is working with Bill and Ant, and I think there's one other guy. I don't know, but it's been so long. When I toured with them the first time, DJ Abilities was the DJ for Slug. Then the next time I toured with them, Mr. Dibbs was the DJ for Atmosphere. And then Ant started touring. Um he wasn't part of the original tours, but yeah, he hopped in and now that's he's touring with Brother Ali right now. So him and he's DJing for Brother Ali on his tour.
Yeah, and Brother Ali doesn't tour much anymore. I don't think. I think.
Well, he tries. He lives in Turkey now. Oh no, yeah, he lives in Istanbul.
Okay.
So yeah, he's since the pandemic, none of us have really toured much except for Atmosphere, who just keep getting booked on every fucking festival there is across the states.
Yeah,
Um,
I think they were just in Cincinnati not too long ago at Bogart's.
yeah,
So yeah, that's exciting, man. I'm looking forward to seeing you guys and going back and reliving my teen years
that's right. That's
through
right. We're
you.
on the nostalgia tour.
Yeah. So do you have do you have any projects coming up you want to plug or talk about? Solo album or Epic Beardmen doing anything soon?
No more Epic Beardmen. My solo album is overdue, so I have to focus on that. I for the Atmosphere tour, I want to have at least an EP, a new EP ready to go, and I should that should be easy enough. I have a lot of songs ready to go. But yeah, the follow up to Copper Gone, which was my last solo studio album, came out 10 years ago. So this will be my first solo studio album since then. Um, I don't know if we can count the COVID years though. So, and me getting married and having a kid and all that, that ate up a lot of time. So I am ready to put out the next project. I just need to make sure I got all the ducks in a row. But between then and now, we're still working a lot with a guy named Mopes, and we got our dude Jesse the Tree, we got Old Boy Rhymes, the Meter Maids. Um, we just released a C's Mike's album. Um, is there's a ton of activity. Oh, we're gonna do a Halloween thing. We got a project called Deadowbrook. So I grew up on a street called Meadowbrook, and that's where the label is run out of now. So my old house is what houses all of our material. Um, so Deadowbrook, produced by Mopes, is we're only going to release it, I believe, on Bandcamp, but it's a ton of feature MCs and all of us rap about horror movies. So
I'll
yeah,
get
that's
down
fun.
with
It's
that.
fun. It's fun, like a good Halloween, spooky season spirit that we're gonna try to do every Halloween season. And this is kicking it off with volume one, Deadowbrook.
Brook.
Deadowbrook.
Okay. And so is that you're gonna drop it on Halloween, hopefully?
It'll start, I think, the week before Halloween. So yeah, this coming up, I think, dang, maybe tomorrow we'll start. I don't know. Any day. By the time this podcast comes out, it'll probably be live on Bandcamp. I have an action figure, a toy made from my Make 'em Purr video, which was a song on Copper Gone about a guy and his cat, and like he's trying to save his cat. So it's a very depressing song. And we decided for the 10-year anniversary, we are going to do something with it. And we made this actually a dude in the UK uh, designed the same. He did it with my personal journals album too, but we only made 100. They're very rare. They look cool as hell. So that's gonna be available before the end of the year. We got the Copper Gone repress 10-year anniversary, hoping to get that out before the end of the year. We sent it off to the printers, but who the hell knows when you're gonna get vinyl back these days. Those were big things that were weighing on us that we finally got off our plate, and now we're just waiting for it to get returned. And I have to focus now on my follow-up albums, working on a book with my cousin, helping her put together something very special. And it's my first foray into the literary world as far as books are concerned, because I want to do one of my own, someday do my own book. And maybe even help people release books once I figure out that whole process, which really can't be all that much different from releasing albums. Um, and I got to have a podcast because I already got the URL name, I already got the logo, I already got the theme song. I've had it for 4 years. And, so with all these other things spinning around, I'm like, obviously I got to do a podcast. So
It,
that's called Hard Lurk, and that's supposed to happen already. So fuck me.
it's a podcast. It's a lot to put together, and it can really suck, especially with technical issues if you don't have all your ducks in a row. But
Well, you're doing it. Good job.
I appreciate that. It's so much easier when I can get someone in the room because there's no editing involved, and I can switch the cameras with my fingers, kind of stealth, and just put it out there it's like a live recording. But
Yeah.
the editing stuff is what really it consumes a lot of time. I'm still editing my podcast I did with co-defendants with Chesky and Sam King from July,
Yeah.
but that got screwed up because one of the microphones sounds like he's talking through an old rotary phone or something.
Yeah.
But
I don't know. You'll hit your stride with editing. I mean, shout out to DOD 45 podcasts. Their YouTube. He edits these. I don't know how he's able to do it so fast, but he's done so many episodes. He's got all these promo clips and all this editing going on, and he does it all by himself. And I'm just like, dag, that's not even your job. It's not even his job. He doesn't even get paid off of it, but he's busting his ass getting all this shit done. And I feel like, once you're in the groove of it all and it just all becomes second nature, boom, you'll be set to go.
yeah, and with the system reset, everything's kind of I'm getting it recentered. But
All right.
I would highly recommend you get yours going, man, because that's another stream of revenue at some
Yeah.
point that you're missing out on. And I'm assuming your YouTube channel monetized?
We just did that. The
Nice.
Strange Famous, yeah, we with the help of Swell from Meter Maids, he's helping us out with various marketing things. And yeah, he just was like, why aren't you monetizing? We're like, well, we tried to do it, but then they didn't accept our application for it. And I was guessing it's because we release so much music that it's like we do get paid off of plays anyways. So maybe that conflicts with um being monetized as a channel.
I'm
But
not sure, but
yeah, I have no idea. That's kind of what I was figuring, but yeah, we worked it out so that we'll see what happens with the monetization and how long we can let that go, let it work for us,
yeah,
maybe.
at some point, yeah, they'll let you insert ads into your video, which I hate. I'm sure you would hate, but that's how we get the cash off of these podcasts
Yeah.
and view hours or minutes or however they tally it up. But I'm really interested to see what guests you could pull on. I know you plugged in. You know a lot of interesting people, so I'm sure you could have some good stuff.
Yeah, yeah. I just don't like talking in general, so that is a big thing I have to get over. But yeah, I like to lurk people's social media and find out things about them that and see if I can make them explain a bit more. So similar to what you just did with me, where we're talking about stuff I don't really care to talk about, but I see it of interest to others, and I'm like, all right, well, here's why, here's what that was, and I want to do that to other people.
Yeah,
Um,
like, I want to talk to people that do interesting shit, the art that I like, and I'd like to, get to know them and figure out, what makes them tick a little bit. And
yeah, but the best, I listen to a lot of podcasts, and some of my favorites is like Theo Vaughn interviewing the garbage man of his town, like you or the lunch lady at school. Those are the best kind of conversations. I get, for me personally, I get the most out of those. So I'm inspired by stuff like that. So we'll see. Like yeah, I could talk to people that I've met in the industry, but I really want to talk to the principal of my kid's school and talk to him about his MTV career.
I would watch that in a heartbeat, dude.
Yeah,
Like, really, yeah. And Daniel Tosh, he does that, I believe,
yeah, yeah,
interviews
yeah,
just your average Joe off the street, which is a great concept, really.
yeah. But they suck for promo.
Mm.
They don't know how to push it.
Yeah, I guess hopefully they'll figure it out.
Get their
But
followers up.
yeah, yeah, that's I hate the aspect of marketing myself. I used to be a musician. I mean, I guess I still technically am a musician, but marketing a band is different from marketing. Like I'm a comic, I've only been doing comedy for about a year, but all the parallels with music and comedy are very similar, but I'm just marketing me. And
Yeah.
I absolutely fucking hate it. I hate
No, yeah, it's the worst. It's the worst. Writing your own bio, like writing little things like that, that just like ah, if I could eliminate those parts of so you have to separate yourself from yourself as an artist, as a comedian. It's like its own entity, it's you have to be a fan of that particular character. Because I'm not Sage Francis, and but I play him in front of others, so I
right.
can promote him. I can like disassociate in a way where I can make that not be so gross and weird. Although it probably like to a family member looking at me doing what I do, I can always see them like kind of probably cringing behind the scenes, like, oh, what is he doing? Why does he say that? What are he talking about? Why
I,
talking so? Why does he do that?
I get the
Fucker.
exact same feeling from the other local comics in the area, and I'm like, should I post this? I'm like, well, the followers might like it. Fuck what everybody else thinks.
Right. That's it.
So
That's it.
yeah, so yeah, man. I honestly, I know I had some more questions for you, but I didn't write any of them down. I think I got a lot of the ones that were in the back of my mind. Um, but yeah, I think well, A, I'm really excited to see you guys on tour again. That's going to be dope. And B, really looking forward to uh, any new music you got coming out. So,
Well, thank you. Yeah, and I'm not really sure if we're rolling through close to you. We probably are, but regardless, we'll be in a lot of places. And I will follow that up with more material and a YouTube show maybe. We'll see. I don't want to talk about more stuff because more stuff's going to come out. I'm going to get anxious and stressed about it because I'm not doing enough to make these things happen. I got to be about it, not talk about it.
right.
Have a strange, famous Friday, my friend.
Yep, yep. All right, brother. Well, thank you again so much for joining me. And yeah, look forward to seeing you in the future.
Yes, sir.
All
Stay
right.
up and good luck with all the other podcast editing.
Yep. Thanks, brother.
See ya.
Sayonara. Have a great day.
You too.
This right here, that's my shit.